Savings rates are the best they have been for a decade, but even in this cost of living squeeze, people aren't making the best of them. Almost 1 in 5 have never checked the interest on their savings. Over half haven't moved their money in the last year, potentially missing out on hundreds of pounds in interest. Well, those figures come from research from the Yorkshire Building Society. It's been tracking savings habits across the UK for some time. Hannah Evans is from Swansea. She has a savings account of her own and one with her fiancé, and she has personal experience of this business of moving savings or deciding not to move them. So, Hannah, thanks for sharing your personal financial details with us. On average then, tell us how much you're saving every month and how much of that is for your personal savings and how much is it with your fiancé?
So it does vary month on month, but I try and save around sort of £500 a month, and that goes into some holiday savings for myself, my sort of car maintenance account, and then some savings about £200 or £300, depending how we're doing that month, into my kind of home renovation and wedding savings account, which we've bundled all in together.
So what approach do you take with moving these savings around, with the joint savings and then with your own?
So with the joint savings, I am very diligent and will look at different kind of interest rates. And we originally opened with one bank, and then when we saw that another one had better savings, I was really quick to move savings into that account.
So how much interest are you getting now, Hannah, on your on the joint?
Well, it was 5.8. It's now down to
great.
4. I know.
Okay.
It's now down to about 4. So I'm shopping around again for that, joint savings account.
So you're a model where that is concerned. What about your own savings?
Yeah, different story with my own savings. I think because the joint ones impact someone else, obviously someone who I love, I'm very kind of dog with the bone with it, and I will find us the best deal. But with my personal savings, for some reason, I get to the end of every day and I think, oh, I really need to look at it. My personal savings are not more than about 1.5% interest, and I know that, and yet I still haven't done anything about it. Because I just can't seem to find the headspace or the time when it comes to my personal savings.
Chris Owen's the Director of Savings at the Yorkshire Building Society. Rachel Springall is a finance expert at Moneyfacts. Moneyfacts monitors financial products, including savings and investments. Rachel, inspire Hannah then. Here she is, very diligently protecting her fiancé's financial interests by rooting around and moving their money. When it comes to her own money, she just feels too tired. She feels too apathetic to do anything about it.
Well, Hannah, I think you're doing a great job at saving, number one, so well done. It's not very easy to do in this sort of day and age with the cost of living and whatnot, and other priorities like other debts or, growing money for other reasons. But saving every month is really important. So, yeah, I can absolutely see why you would sort of make more active impact on a joint account, because as you say, you're impacting not just yourself but obviously your fiance too. And yeah, unfortunately with moving your money, it is always down to you, unfortunately. So unless you've got some kind of clever automated system in place to move your money around every month into different bank accounts. So I guess what you would need to do with your own savings is kind of think how quick and often you need to access that money. Is it in an easy access account? Is it in a current account? A lot of the best easy access rates at the moment are paying around 4 to 5%, so you are getting a really good return on your joint savings. So yeah, you can absolutely get around the same rate at the moment for your own personal savings elsewhere.
Chris Owen, tell us a bit more about the research that you did and how the people who took part in your research, who were apathetic about their savings, how did they explain it? Hannah's too tired to do it.
Yeah, so the research that we've released today shows that there is £366 billion sat in low-paying interest accounts. So these are current accounts, and that's quite hard to kind of to visualise. So I'll break it down a little bit further. So there are 13 million current accounts in the UK that have got balances above £5,000 in them. The average balance in those current accounts is close to £24,000.
Gosh!
And then when you do the maths and you think about a 1% interest rate versus some of those best rates in the market that are maybe close to 5%, those customers with that average balance are losing out on up to £1,000 in interest per year. Now, what we've heard about the reasons are kind of quite numerous, but a lot of it may be around wanting access to that money, knowing that it's there when you really need it, and maybe thinking that you have to compromise on that and maybe accept a lower rate. But actually, that's maybe not the case nowadays, when most savings providers that if you wanted to go and choose a different provider, would offer you a website or an app where you can really easily move money. So that compromise is no longer required. That's one of the main reasons that we hear, and I think it's one that it's maybe worth trying to dispel that myth that it's actually really easy to open a savings account now, and really easy to move your money around.
Well, Edwina has emailed to say my savings are in a low interest account because the counter staff in my bank say they're not allowed to switch me to a higher interest account. They tell me to ring their customer service number. I try to do this at all times of the day. I've tried for several months. I gave up. The chatbot online just keeps telling me that they are I think she must be the chatbot on the phone, just keeps telling me they're extremely busy. I guess some of this leaving it must be because people are not confident with just opening accounts online, being only able to see their savings online.
Yeah,
that might well be the case.
Yeah.
Sorry, and where I think what I'd suggest there is we just talked about, and we just heard Hannah's example. I think one of the most important things is making the right choices of the provider. So I'd encourage people to shop around. I'd definitely encourage Hannah to do so. But be honest with yourself about how often you are going to manage that money, and make a choice on who you choose to save with based on some of that. So some providers may offer you introductory rates, but those rates may drop over time. Others will offer you a much more consistent level of value. So when you do start to shop around, really think honestly about how you're likely to manage your money, and make the best choice with that in mind.
Chris, it's always on us, isn't it, to navigate these complicated fields. Why are the banks offering such relatively poor rates of interest and then making you endlessly switch? So some of the accounts, the headline rates look very attractive. They limit the amount that you can save, or it's only for a year.
Yeah, and it's true. And I think you've got, within the UK, you've got different choices of the kind of businesses that you can choose to save with. So banks is one form, but there are also building societies. I think it's important for me to explain the differences between the two. So building societies are mutually owned. We're owned by our members, and everything we do is in the best interest of those members. So we don't manage our accounts in that way. We don't manage our customer savings in that way. We pass on as much as we can afford. That's the way we work. We're there to serve the best interests of our members. What we try to do is give as much value back as we can. So again, when it comes back to research and when you're making those choices about who to save with, those are some of the things I'd encourage people to consider.
Rachel, we've got about a minute left.
Mm-hmm.
A third of UK households have savings of less than £1,000, and there'll be people listening who would love to save but are in deficit budgets and just simply can't save. The Resolution Foundation calculates that it's a third of households who cannot save. What would you advise people who want to save but feel they can't?
I think what we need to look at is what you're actually prioritising with your money. So if you do have debts in the short term, obviously it's really important to clear those down. But also you really do need an emergency fund to fall back onto, especially if you can't take quick short-term credit or it's just unaffordable for you. So saving little often really is the key message. It's about making sure you have that habit of saving regularly and looking at a longer-term goal as well to kind of have that emergency fund ready for you to fall back on when you need it.
Rachel Springle from Moneyfacts, Chris Irwin from the Yorkshire Building Society, and Hannah Evans. Thanks so much for coming on and talking about that with us.